Hello everyone, Z Anime here, and today we are doing What If Deku Had the Rinnegan episode 3, but before we go into it, hit the intro. Bitches love so and I know it. Fucking with the old ones, you gon' get fucked over. Ferraris and robots, these old lunchy salsa. And I'm with that cobra, now that what's left over. They do it all for salsa, you wasn't making no noise. So in the last part, Deku and Uraraka just beat Bakugo and Ira for the exam they were having, the villain versus hero exam, and everything else goes as canon, but this time the best team goes to Deku and Uraraka for the best planning and less destructiveness of everything in the building. So, next is the USJ arc. So, everything goes as normal up to the USJ arc, and the villains start to attack. Now, Deku is feeling like he should use his ultimate move, per se, Shinra Tensei, and just wipe out every villain right there on the spot. But in return, it would probably hurt or it may even kill some of the students, so he has to hold off on that. And he decides to go on a fight, using both his Rinnegan Tensei and Shinra Tensei in the battles along with his wads, and that's about all he knows how to use so far. So, using both that, he takes out around 20 villains before he gets out of the water that he was sent to, obviously, by Kurogiri, and sees Ozawa about to get dealt with by the Nomu, and uses Shinra Tensei to push the Nomu close to him, and then puts a rod in him, sucking out all the Nomu's energies and putting the Nomu to sleep. And Shigaraki, seeing this, says, "This is not part of the plan. They cheated." And Kurogiri is like, "We should escape," and Tomura Shigaraki rushes at Deku, and then Deku uses a Shinra Tensei to push Shigaraki away into a wall, slamming him and knocking him out. And then Kurogiri pushes him away and takes him away, and all the rest of the villains get captured, including the Nomu. Now, right as Tomura Shigaraki gets away, All Might shows up. And All Might doesn't get injured or anything during this battle, so he can still use the same amount he normally would be able to use if that battle didn't, start. Okay. Now after this battle, all the students are shaken up, but Deku feels alright knowing that he just took out one of the most major villains there, and almost took out Tomura Shigaraki, which he doesn't know yet, but is the main leader of the League of Villains, just by using one move. But his mom is a little shaken up and asks him if he's okay right when he gets home, and kind of panics a little bit. But knowing that Deku's pretty strong, and knowing that he also unlocked a new part of his quirk, which are those rods, or so she thinks is his quirk, and just takes them and makes some dinner. So, now, after this, is obviously the sports festival arc, which is going to be a little bit interesting, because Deku doesn't really have that much moves to deal with the robots at the beginning, but he'll figure it out. So, knowing that it's the sports festival, he will actually not care that much about the students getting injured that much, so he would use a full-powered Shinra Tensei and blast out all the robots, and just continue onwards, leaving some of the students stuck, and some of them actually a little bit injured, but not that much, because he didn't use a full-powered one, but he used a powerful one enough to take out the robots. And then he continues onward, leaving Todoroki, Bakugo, and Deku all in the lead, and almost tying for first. And during the minefield,
he just uses Shinra Tensei again, blowing up all the mines at once, and anyone who's in the minefield before him, Todoroki and Bakugo, got blown up a little bit, and that slowed him down enough, just long enough for him to get into lead and win the first part of the UA Sports Festival. Now, the next part, the horse riding headband event, where you had to have 4 partners, and you had to ride one of them like a horse, and 3 of them like a horse, and the top one had the headband. Now, Deku had the million points headband as usual, and he would just, run around and use Shinra Tensei to block any incoming attacks. But one time, the only time that he almost got his headband taken away was when Ida uses Reciprocal Burst, but Deku barely had a quick enough reaction to use Shinra Tensei there. After the split second, though, Todoroki used his ice, and for 5 seconds, obviously Deku can't use his telekinesis ability, so Deku had to use one of his rods, and kind of just stab Todoroki in the arm with his rod, and take him out, making him fall asleep, and Deku taking his headband in the process. Okay, so Deku actually gets away with this time with 1 million points, and we move on to the tournament arc. Now, everything goes on the same, besides the battle with Todoroki. Now, the only reason the battle with Todoroki is going to go a little bit differently is because obviously Deku doesn't have one for all. Bakugo does. Okay, so with Bakugo having one for all, he easily takes care of his opponents, including Kirishima and Uraraka. But obviously, let's focus on Deku's match. So, now that Deku has the rinnegan, all he has to do is get close enough to Todoroki to stab him with one of his energy rods again. So, now, his plan is just to use a billion of Shinra Tensei to blast away any ice and either push him out or hit him with his chakra rods. So first off, Todoroki, trying to finish off the match early, uses a big wave of ice, and of course Deku just uses one of his big Shinra Tenseis to block it. Now he has to evade for 5 minutes, which is going to be the hard part, but he manages to do it using his chakra rods to block the ice, which also deflects most quirk attacks, including any ice or elemental quirks. So he's able to deflect it with a chakra rod just by stabbing it, instantly breaking the ice. So he stays out of range for around 5 minutes, able to use his Shinra Tensei, and just spams the little Shinra Tenseis over and over again until Todoroki gets close enough for him to use reverse Shinra Tensei and pull Todoroki in, stabbing him with the chakra rod again, almost draining all of his energy. But this time, somehow Todoroki is able to pull it out with only slight energy left. Freezes Deku, but obviously Deku is able to escape using Shinra Tensei, and the battle continues with Todoroki almost out of energy, and Deku running high on energy. Deku says, if you're gonna win this, you gotta use your fire side. It's yours, quirk, not your dad's. And with this, like in the original, Todoroki gets fired up, literally and metaphorically, and the final class begins. Deku using his biggest Shinra Tensei he has ever used before, and Todoroki using his fire and ice, and Deku also using and putting chakra rods all around his body to deflect the ice and fire, basically draining all of his energy, and Todoroki using the last bit of his energy, and it ends up in a double knockout, which means they will have to have an arm wrestle as a tiebreaker for this. And I'm just gonna say that Deku wins this arm wrestle because he's just in Tensei and just pushes Todoroki's arm down. Now everything goes up to cannon, and this time it's Deku versus Bakugo, the top 2 students in class 1A. So the battle begins, and Bakugo, knowing that he has to dodge the chakra rods and also being void, getting pushed in and pushed away from Shinra Tensei, he then just has to dodge and weave, basically. But first, he tries a large skull attack with his hands, which actually almost works, but it hits his hands too much to try again, so he has to go back to the dodge and weave tactic. So now, it's just a big battle of cat and fish, which lasts around actually 40 minutes. And after 40 minutes, Deku and Bakugo have a final clash, almost the same as Todoroki's and Deku's, but a little bit more extreme, to the point where both Deku and Bakugo break a limb doing it. And yeah, they actually end up in a double knockout, having the first ever tie in UA Sports Festival history. Leaving Bakugo a little mad, but not that mad, because he considers his Deku rival still. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. This was the anime. Logging off.